So does the government have any role in disaster relief? And you know, this is a common question because the government has had such a big role in the past few decades, in floods, in hurricanes like Katrina, in earthquake relief, FEMA, you know, the government agencies to step in and, you know, write big checks and help out and help disasters and so on. And the question is that a legitimate role of government? And it's good to remember that historically, this started out very small. There was no federal or state disaster relief in the 19th century. And then slowly, it started out very small, just for the really, really bad stuff. And then it grew, and then it grew, and now all disaster relief is managed by the federal government, and it's huge. It's an enormous multi-billion-dollar project. And money is paid out whether the disaster is on a huge scale or if it's a relatively minor disaster. And the government has no role here. Government is there to protect our rights. That's it. So what is government's role if there's a disaster? To protect the peace, to protect against looting, to make sure that people don't take advantage of the situation in order to rob and murder, rape, whatever, right? It's to protect the peace. It's what its job is the rest of the year. It just might, you know, if New Orleans is flooded, they just might need reinforcement of police because of potential looting. But other than that, nothing. The role of disaster relief is private, either through charity, things like the Red Cross, or through for-profit, things like Walmart coming in. You know, when Katrina happened, Walmart was on the scene way before FEMA was, delivering food and supplies to people who could buy it. But there was no loss. You know, people didn't necessarily lose money during Katrina. I mean, if they were rational, they had their property insured, and ultimately they would make it back. And that's another thing. Insurance companies might have an incentive in a free market to provide disaster relief. There are a lot of mechanisms that would come about during in a free market that don't exist today to deal with these kind of circumstances. Another aspect of this, which is really important to remember, because of FEMA, because of government-subsidized insurance, people place themselves at risk in a way that they never would in a free market. And this is evident, for example, in the in the Gulf states. People build houses where hurricanes hit. They know hurricanes are going to hit. They know they're taking a huge risk. Now, if there was free markets, their insurance costs would be huge, and therefore there would be a price to pay for taking that risk. But today, their insurance costs are very low because the government subsidized that insurance. And this is a complete perversion. Or here in California, there are earthquakes in California. But the fact is that in California, the insurance for earthquakes is subsidized by the government. And a lot of people don't buy the insurance because they say, what the hell? I'm going to get federal help. If it's really a disaster, the government will step in and write me a check. So why should I bother buying insurance? So the insurance that is here is too cheap because it's provided by the government, subsidized. And most people don't buy insurance because they know the government will bail them out anyway. So people take on risks that they would never take on in a truly free market because the risk isn't priced. So the whole market for disaster relief, in a sense, is distorted by the fact that people live in disaster areas who wouldn't in a true free market.